And for those who enjoy this channel and would love to support us financially, please feel free to hit that donate link. We'd greatly appreciate it. God bless.
It's all yours, SFD.
Hey everybody, we are live again for the second time today. I hope everybody is enjoying all the content we are putting out, including debates, discussions, and of course, our evolution beatdown nights. I know we're having a blast with those. So before we get started, I want to recommend the debate / discussion we had earlier with zoology and herpetology expert Adam Heap. This was a continuation of our discussion on universal ancestry, limited ancestry, and biblical kinds with Adam Heap that started on modern day debate. So you can see the first one on modern day debate, and I highly recommend watching them both. Tonight, though, is going to debunk Ration alMind and Jackson Wheat's latest response video directed at our barcoding and phylogeny challenge video. So get ready. That being said, though, for more on the strength of the limited ancestry model as compared to the evolutionary universal ancestry model, check out the channel for a ton of videos, or even watch some of our latest debates. Including some that come to mind, and of course not limited to the debates we just had with Adam Heap, our series of debates with Erica, who goes by Gutsick Gibbon, and more recently the debate I had that comes to mind with Mark Drysdale on modern day debate. So if you're looking for
they went testing
some good debates that kind of show off the strength of our model, check those out. Anyways, enough from me. We're going to hand it over to Ramat for education time.
All right. Yes. I didn't want the audience to have to sit through and listen not only to the video that I made, but listen to him debunking the video that I made, because they turned a 3-minute video into over 20-minute rebuttal. So what I did for everybody is I sped us up. So yes, we're going to sound like chipmunks, but it's for your benefit. And I'm going to try to cover everything that they talked about and maybe even get it done faster than their rebuttal, but no promises, right? And other than that, I guess we can just jump right into it. I mean, I just want to let everybody know that this DNA barcoding that we're going to be talking about covers multiple studies. Now, everybody that's seen our book knows that the studies are in there. They can find them and they can read what's going on. So the video that I made was not as technical. It was mostly entertainment value. So they went through this and they found, I don't know, disdain at the fact that I wasn't posting study after study with everything that I was saying. So you will see, and enjoy.
In 2018, they went testing high numbers of species never before done in history, and the results are now in. By analyzing the barcodes across hundreds of thousands of species, researchers found a telltale sign showing that all animals emerged at the same time, as well as humans, and all have clear genetic boundaries from one another. For example, they found that the wolf, fox, jackal, and dogs all have similar low DNA barcoding differences, proving they are all related. So a dog and a wolf, though not considered the same species, both had low DNA barcoding gaps, showing that they are related to one another and on a family level, drawing a clear genetic boundary.
I'll come back to this study later.
He actually never comes back to the study, besides to look at barcoding. The study was the major point of the video, showing that all life arose recently, all has low genetic diversity, and it's seen in all life, and that this should not be true. Even the scientists themselves admitted that it shouldn't be this way, and they were in disbelief. He entirely ignores that, hoping that I would have not noticed, by all of his other criticisms.
As you can see from the title, it's only looked at wolves, jackals, and foxes, not dogs.
While results also showed that a large DNA barcoding difference gap to all other tested animals that evolution says are related to wolves, like the brown bear, the sea otter, marten, fur seal, and badgers. All were distinctly different, having large barcoding differences.
I just want to point out again that this study on the 3 canine species that you showed on screen a moment ago didn't look at bears, otters, etc., like Ramat said.
I showed one clip of a study briefly, and then I showed another study. It was a visual image, which actually did test that. You see, on our channel, our actual fans know that every video we make, the topic can be found in our book. I don't spend time in the comments section. They know if they want to get technical, they can go there. That way I can make videos more fun.
He doesn't actually cite any studies that mention any such analysis. That being said, the general claim that dogs, wolves, jackals, and foxes have more similar barcodes to each other than they do to other mammals like bears and otters is trivially true, and is precisely what we'd expect according to evolution.
Wrong. The study shows that is not what is happening with DNA barcoding results. What it does show is species divergence from its own family line, with low genetic diversity in all life, including aquatic, and no barcoding overlap between this mythical evolution tree of life can be found, because it doesn't exist. You see, the gaps are not a distance of deep time. They are a visual allele alteration change based on environmental conditions from species, and they can easily be tracked to a founding parent.
Similarly, all felines are the same as well, and showed they were all related, all the way down to the species level. The house cat is related to the lion and the panther, and DNA barcoding shows low gap differences.
Note that RawMat doesn't actually cite a particular study. He just shows some creationist images on screen about the cat kind.
As I said, I want to make videos entertaining first, then somewhat technical. I removed the dog study because it dealt with a different number of nucleotide sequences, and to explain the math to an audience when they just want to be entertained seems a waste of time. I put it in the book instead.
We'll come back to this as well.
Even though barcoding is mainly used to identify species, it can also work on the family level as well.
Once again, notice how he just says this without explanation or citation?
No explanation. You can find that DNA barcoding goes back as far as you want it to, depending on how many things they have cataloged and how big of a sequence you have.
From here on, he'll consistently make claims about particular DNA barcoding results being sufficient to differentiate species into different families.
Again, just because it's used on species doesn't mean that's where it stops. You see, until recently, nothing has been good enough to look closely at a species or a subspecies and differentiate it until now. So that's what they're using this for. It's simple.
Now, the same was found in all humans, as when the human lineage was traced from modern-day humans to Neanderthal to Denisovan, results showed low barcoding gap differences, and when compared to the primate family, they showed large gaps, meaning humans taxonomically should be in a different family from primates.
Wait, that was a bit of a jump, don't you think? Humans are more similar to Neanderthals and Denisovans than we are to chimpanzees and other primates, therefore we should be in different families? We're already in different genera, why isn't that enough?
It's bad enough they've pushed humans taxonomically in the ape family. Let's keep it away from anything else.
Humans, Neanderthal, and Denisovan were just 1 to 4 sequences different, very low barcoding differences, proving we are all closely related. So much so that even the bonobo and chimp, which are related distantly, have 58 pairs separated from one another. The heat maps generated demonstrates that primates are completely unrelated to mankind.
I don't know where he's getting the figure of 58 nucleotide differences between chimps and bonobos from.
My bad, I meant 78. I put it in the book, but obviously I screwed up verbally.
But he was kind enough to highlight a section of text below the figure to make it clear where he's getting the figure of over 132 nucleotide differences between humans and chimps. Let's read what he highlighted, shall we? In the case of chimpanzees, n equals 133. Wait, n equals 133? Yes, RawMat has confused the description of this graph with accounts of the number of differences between humans and chimpanzees. N equals 133 refers to the number of chimpanzee sequences included in the analysis. It has nothing to do with the number of nucleotide differences.
It specifically says the mtDNA differences between us. So if N does not stand for nucleotide, what does it stand for? And what would be the logical reason for making a heat map of just numbers of tested individuals? None. Obviously, the diversity of the study was done using barcoding, and if the 133 nucleotide sequences are not the differences, then what is the number? Because the study doesn't list any other than that one.
Here you can see for yourself the differences between life using DNA barcoding. Just look how similar butterfly species are to one another, yet how different they are compared to an owl. With CO1 sequencing, we can also see the difference between birds and bees, and relation can be mapped out easily.
Well, yes, obviously. Butterflies and owls are very distantly related, as are birds and bees.
Come on, that's wrong. The study doesn't show that at all. The study actually shows how non-distantly related things are. It proved that they arose at the same time, completely contrary to that claim.
You don't need DNA barcoding to distinguish them.
You would be surprised. Matter of fact, I had a conversation with Arn Raw who said there is no difference between us and chimps. We're exactly the same in every possible way.
We're exactly the same in every possible way.
Large sequence gaps of usually 10 or more place them into an entirely different family. In terms of base pairs, anything under 60 base pairs are related, and over that are a different family. And when we look at specific sequence sites, we also see our supposed closest relative, the chimp, is separated by 60 sites. Related species are usually just a few sites separated, and 10 or more places them into an entirely different family, proving we are not related to primates.
This is very garbled. He's simultaneously
Pardon me real quick, because I had to, it's getting real annoying, this background here. I just have to remove something real quick.
No problem.
Great stuff, man. I'm enjoying this.
Good, good. I couldn't whip it together any faster if I tried.
Yeah, you're a freaking ninja at this stuff.
Well, you'll see. They even said that I average 44 videos a month. So that's pretty much all I do is edit.
Heck yeah. Alright, we're getting rid of this stuff. It's just, do you see the mirror stuff? It looks pretty stupid. There we go. And here we go.
saying that more than 10 nucleotide differences indicates two species are in different families, while less than 60 nucleotide differences indicates they're in the same family. He doesn't provide any citation for these figures, and I can only assume he's plucked them from thin air.
No, I didn't pull the number out of the air. I actually took it from Vincent Salavainen, who said that in 2005.
Humans and chimps really do differ by about 60 nucleotides, not over 132, as he said before.
Just look for yourself at humans compared to a gorilla. As you can tell, nothing alike. Yet, when humans are placed next to Neanderthal and Denisovan, you can easily see the match. Yet, look at the bottom, I added the gorilla. Look how completely different it is.
It's not clear to me where Raw got those barcode images from. I asked, but received no response. They certainly don't look anything like the images I got when I downloaded the sequences myself. For a start, they seem to be using different color schemes, which makes it extremely difficult to see how they line up, even presuming the sequences are correct. Again, more on that in a moment. So, let's summarize Rawmat's claims. He says DNA barcoding can be used to separate different created kinds, and gives examples where felines have very similar barcodes, canines have very similar barcodes that are distinct from other mammals, and there are clear differences between three distinct kinds of primates. Humans are their own kind, chimpanzees and bonobos are their own kind, and gorillas are their own kind. Nice and neat. Now, let's fact check this, starting with the paper about the three species of canids: wolves, jackals, and foxes. The study actually makes it clear that they're quite distinct. Quote, the mean distance among the three species was 12.32%. Mean divergence between the two genera, Canis and Vulpes, was 16.63%. The CO1 barcoding sequence is 648 base pairs long, so 12.32% and 16.63% translates to 80 and 108 nucleotide differences, respectively. In other words, the average difference between the three species is about 80 nucleotides and goes as high as 108 nucleotides. This study was looking at a relatively small number of individuals from Iran and Turkey, so I decided to do the same analysis using a much larger dataset from the Barcode of Life data system database. In total, I included complete 648 base pair CO1 barcode sequences from 368 wolves, 7 jackals, and 35 foxes. My results approximately confirm the numbers in the paper. I found about 93 nucleotide differences separating the fox from the two Canis species. What about felines? Well, Rawmat doesn't actually cite any studies to back up his claim, so I decided to perform the analysis myself. There were about 82 nucleotide differences separating domestic cats and lions. I also repeated the analysis for humans, chimps, and gorillas, but since Rawmat actually got his numbers from a good source, I wasn't surprised to find that indeed there are about 60 nucleotide differences between humans and chimps, and about 70 nucleotide differences between humans and gorillas. However, I didn't find 58 nucleotide differences between chimps and bonobos. I found less than half that number, around 23 nucleotide differences.
Again, that was because that was from a different study.
Rawmat didn't do very well, did he? The only numbers he got right were the ones he quoted directly from a reputable source. Could there be a lesson in there somewhere?
Our book shows the low genetic diversity between dog, coyote, wolf, and jackal, and it even goes down to the bulldog and chihuahua. It gets very specific because it's a different study entirely, but we also place the fox into a different created kind. So There's no problem at all. Matter of fact, the study itself places the two groups separate as well as yours. So the numbers just help validate it. Oh, and on the bottom you see the chimp and bonobos. I found the 78 nucleotide differences as stated earlier from another study, not the 58.
Oh, and remember when he showed this image comparing the barcodes of humans and gorillas, and I said it looks a bit strange to me? Here's why. When I generate the barcodes myself, using CO1 barcode sequences downloaded from the barcode database, the human and gorilla sequences actually look like this.
Thanks, it's hard to find good screenshots online.
Back to the numbers. So what do these real numbers of nucleotide differences mean for Rawmat's conclusions? Well, I'm sure you've noticed by now that cats and lions have more CO1 barcoding differences than humans and chimps do, even more than humans and gorillas. The same goes for the wolf and fox. They're more different to one another in this barcode sequence than humans and chimps are, even more than humans and gorillas are. Here's all the raw numbers from my own analysis of nucleotide differences separating the different species within each family. As you can see, I analysed data for the entire Phylogeny family, the entire Hominidae family, and I went beyond the few canid species in the 2017 paper that Rawmat cited, and actually analysed data from the whole of Canidae as well. Using Rawmat's arbitrary threshold of 60 nucleotide differences being the cutoff between different created kinds.
Not arbitrary. I stated earlier where I got the number from.
We do indeed see that humans, chimps, gorillas, and orangutans are separate kinds. But using the same threshold, we find that the Canidae family isn't a single kind, but rather at least 7. If we use a threshold just high enough to make the Canidae family a single created kind, we find that the same threshold unites humans, chimps, gorillas, and orangutans into a single created hominid kind.
Well, if you look at the chart, he's looking at two different kinds, after all, by adding the fox into the canine, and also including domestic dogs. So of course these numbers are going to be all over the place. But let's go on, I'll explain it after the cats, next.
It's exactly the same story with Phylogeny. Rawmat shows these images on screen from Answers in Genesis, suggesting he believes Phylogeny represents a single created cat kind. But using his threshold of 60 nucleotides, Phylogeny is actually composed of at least 13 different kinds. A threshold of 118 nucleotide differences is required to unite Phylogeny into a single cat kind. But this same threshold also easily unites humans, chimps, gorillas, and orangutans into the same kind. To give a couple of more specific examples, the swift fox and the fennec fox have significantly more CO1 nucleotide differences than humans and chimps, as do the domestic cats and the fishing cat. The arbitrary threshold of 60 nucleotide differences leads to contradictions too. For example, consider the lion, tiger, and jaguar. The lion and tiger appear to be the same kind. The lion and jaguar appear to be the same kind. But the tiger and jaguar appear to be different kinds. How is that supposed to work?
The reason why we're finding this discrepancy of 118 nucleotide sequence difference in this cat kind is because we know that the number is good the majority of the time, but anytime you get into domesticated species, like the indoor cat now compared to the outdoor feral lion, you're going to get some erratic results, because think about it, in the outback, the environment is forcing allele changes, giving a larger barcoding gap. I mean, take a look at the picture yourself. We get a tropical rainforest South American tested jaguar and the northern cold climate living tiger from Russia. This is why you can see, even in your own charts, the nucleotides start low and then climb as the species diversifies. And the cat kind is very diverse, having a normal house cat all the way to a feral wild lion. So, why the 81 nucleotide sequence difference between a later species? Well, first off, their founding parents started with more genetic diversity already built in. Before they speciated, right when they got off the ark, before speciation started occurring, you can see this looking at humans compared to all animal life. Human, low genetic diversity, animals, much more. So their offspring inherited much more allele differences, which means more base pair differences when speciation occurs. And you can see this looking at the very charts he posted. Look at how much higher the numbers are compared to humans, at just a few base pair differences. This is why we said we combine in vitro fertilization as well as orphan genes and many other aspects to help clarify what a kind is, not just DNA barcoding, because of course there's going to be discrepancies. We don't see them as deep time. Second, what else would cause a species to change allele frequencies of the CO1 gene between the same kind this much? Well, different external environments, as I said, select for particular alleles of mitochondrial-encoded enzymes, which make the control ATP reactions of the same gene. So the small allele variation that changes between species is then seen as a gap. This is why you sometimes see a larger gap in related species depending on where they migrated to, but no gap in a similar purebred dog species under no selective pressure.
It seems that Rawmat only has two options. Declare that the canid and felid families aren't individually created kinds, but are instead composed of multiple separate kinds, for example, the wolf kind, fox kind, leopard kind, and panther kind, among others. Or he take the view that humans, chimps, gorillas, and orangutans are all in the same hominid kind. I can't really see either of those happening, to be honest. This is the whole point of the phylogeny challenge. It's impossible to draw objective lines of separation between groups of species in such a way that a creationist would accept those groups as originally created kinds. If you accept all canids and all felids are related on the basis of CO1 barcoding, and then you follow the same rules, you have to accept that humans, chimps, gorillas, and orangutans are related. If you reject humans, chimps, gorillas, and orangutans being related on the basis of CO1 barcoding, then you also have to reject that all canids and all felids are related. After making his point about barcoding, Rawmat mentions another line of evidence that he thinks proves the existence of distinct kinds around the family level. Here Rawmat claims taxonomically restricted orphan genes show some kind of family level specific pattern, but that's not true either. The very Wikipedia article he shows on screen says, quote, "Orphans are usually considered unique to a very narrow taxon, generally a species," end quote. On the x-axis is population size, and on the y-axis is the average percentage of pairwise differences within each species. So each of the blue dots represents a different bird species, while the 3 white squares represent humans, chimps, and bonobos. I hope it's now clear to everyone that this graph has absolutely nothing to do with comparing the number of differences between the barcode sequences of humans, chimps, bonobos, and birds. Another perfect example is in this other recent video by Rawmat on Standing for Truth channel. The whole video is full of errors, like suggesting the GDX11L2 gene Jeffrey Tompkins likes to pretend is highly functional is present in the centromere of chromosome 2, when in reality it's nowhere near it. When in reality it's nowhere near it.
Nowhere near it. Nowhere near it.
Then points to a 2017 study, which Jackson states a gene formed over the fusion site. If you read the paper, it directly states that the new gene went through relocalization after it formed, meaning it arose and then moved over the fusion site.
Let's read the sentence Rawmat highlighted from the abstract of the paper Jackson cited. Quote, "Detailed genetic analysis of one gene fusion shows that the mutant phenotype is caused by relocalization of the diaguanylate cyclase domain to the cell membrane." Now, even if you don't entirely understand the sentence, does anyone think that it sounds like it's saying that the gene itself was relocalized?
Then points to a 2017 study, which Jackson states a gene formed over the fusion site.
You find that it's clearly talking about a new gene forming from the fusion of 2 pre-existing genes, as shown in this figure. The relocalization it talks about is the protein product of that fusion gene being moved from the cytoplasm to the cell membrane. If Rawmat did read the paper, then it's clear he doesn't have a clue how to interpret it, even though it's well written and entirely clear. All of this is lost on the adoring creationist viewers of these videos, though. They're also very impressed by how jolly scientific the videos are. When your primary audience doesn't know any better, it's easy to see why Rawmat and Standing for Truth put so little effort into getting things right. As long as they can keep pumping out videos with a scientific veneer, 44 videos in the last month alone, they can get the same praise from the same small group of fans.
What do you think? Can you smell the jealousy?
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, the video actually didn't end. It kept going. He went on and on about how he was mad that I removed a part of a clip in the video, but why would I leave in something that doesn't belong there? It's just absolutely ridiculous to be claiming, because if I left it in, guess what? You would guarantee that they would be claiming that I can't believe he left in an error. So I removed the error. Now they're mad that I removed the error. It was insane. So it's like, what are we talking about?
So basically, their criticisms failed, right? I mean, that's what I got out of it.
Their criticisms were all over the place. Like I said in the very beginning, they don't mention the flood bottleneck or any bottleneck. That's what the entire majority of this the theme was. That's what the video was really on. Of course, we labeled it Phylogeny Challenge because it dealt with the subject. But in reality, the entire video was on low genetic diversity in all life, which arose from a bottleneck, which came from the global flood. None of that was discussed. Did you notice that?
Right.
He just basically hand-waved through the entire thing, complaining about subjects about DNA barcoding numbers. You know, he was mad because he thought I was pulling numbers out of the air, and what does this number have to do with anything over here, and what about that number over there? And I was trying to get to the point where, like, look, we can use DNA barcoding along with other lines of evidence to help us determine what a kind is. Is it the absolute best and only possible way and the only thing that we can use? Of course not, because as we know, there's discrepancies in it. Like I was trying to say even in the video is, when you look at a pure breed dog, did you know when they look and they do DNA barcoding with domestic pure breeds, they actually show up as 0.000% different from one another. They're so genetically identical, they look like twins. So there's no gap difference whatsoever. So obviously when selection is taken away, when it's out of, when there's no environmental factors to cause any change, it's not going to happen. So that's what's happened with some of these dog breeds. Some of them are so absolutely different from one another because, you know, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get some little chihuahua that lives inside of a woman's purse in LA, and then you're going to get a feral lion in Africa. Obviously there's going to be some massive genetic discrepancies going like, because that's kind of what you expect. But you see, they think the DNA barcoding gaps represent deep time, and that's what they're looking at. Time. In reality, all they're seeing is a change of the allele frequency. So you can actually get a big gap in a very short amount of time, and they could do that themselves if they wanted. They could do that by taking like a sheep and putting them in different environments, and you'll get those allele frequency changes really, really quickly. They would say that, oh, that happened over 1 million years if they were looking at the DNA barcoding gap, right? If they were going to look at something, but instead they don't see that. See, what's really good about the DNA barcoding is that it works on the species level, and that's what it's for right now. They can use it on other levels, but nothing has been as good on the species level as this way of testing. So that's all they use it for. That's what I keep reiterating. Look, guys, of course it can work on other levels, but yes, it works really good on a level that's never been being able to be tested so well before. They used to get discrepancies when you get down to a subspecies level. Now that discrepancy is gone. You can basically wipe it away. It has a 99.9% accuracy. That's incredible. So think about this. If a chimp and a man were related, or we came from them, let's use this logic, right? Man and a chimp live today in the same places on Earth, in the same type of environment that they've always lived. Both are omnivores and both have small variations in their base pair size between themselves. Humans have low base pairs, and chimps also have low base pairs among each other. So you would think if we were related to them, the data would show exactly what it shows when we look at Neanderthal and Denisovan and humans, right? All close. And then all of a sudden, you've got some missing link that they've never found, and then you've got chimps, which are completely different. You see the problem? So anyway, that was a tangent.
So that's like a taxonomic thing that they're presupposing or something.
Taxonomic is that's what pushes us into the ape family. Yeah, we're taxonomically apes because of a couple features that they decided we share in common with an ape. So now they can call us an ape because we share those characteristics. They didn't look at the differences. They just looked for any similarity to push us in the ape family. There's still some cladistical terms that, you know, are people themselves that don't associate with that, but the vast majority of secular science today do call us apes. Yeah.
Funny how they said you did something arbitrary, but I mean the taxonomic chart, whatever. That's purely arbitrary.
Yeah, they're just names given. You know, we want to classify things. That's what humans do. We want to place things in categories. That's why the atheist is so mad. That's why they're so the secular people, man, the evolutionists. They're like, what is a kind? They demand to know because their mind's going to explode because they have to be able to catalog it and put it in a category. Even though they have even over 30 different species concepts themselves, they're mad that we have one ourselves, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I'll say that response video was awesome. So Matt, thanks for doing that. Did you have any final comments, any last points you wanted to address from Ration, alMind and Jackson Wheat there, or?
Oh man, don't really know. I mean, my mind's all over the place today. We went from that debate to doing this last minute. It's almost like I don't even get time to think.
Well, our goal was to make this video strictly, the refutation and response to Jackson Wheat and Ration alMind. So definitely, if you want to know more about, kinds, the kind boundary, definition of kinds, the types of genetic ways that we can determine what's related. I mean, I would definitely recommend watching the debates that I brought up in the intro here, as well, even the debate that we just had recently with Adam Heap, because we go over a number of things, right? The taxonomically restricted and essential genes, and that includes the functional endogenous retroviruses, the orphan genes, pseudogenes, of course, as well as the DNA barcoding and function. Function's key. So, I mean, we could probably go on for another 3 hours about that, but I think the main goal of this video was met. And there might be another evolution beatdown night later on tonight. So just stay tuned for that.
Message us if you want to come in there. I know Anthony wants to be part of it. I'm sure Jason wants to be part of it.
Yeah. If anyone hasn't seen our prior evolution beatdown hours, including the one we just did responding to Gutsick Gibbons' points and arguments she made in the G-Man debate, please watch that one. It's getting a lot of feedback, and we go into a lot of detail on pretty well every single one of her arguments. So I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's video. Any last words, gentlemen?
I actually have just one last question for Matt. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. Now, I'm sure I sure heard this from scientists that if God made creatures distinctly, like you could see a huge difference, like we believe in a common designer. But if God made them really like drastically different, and I've heard people say, their scientists say that would make him a poor creator. Is that true or is that wrong?
A poor creator if things were entirely different, like some kind of designed alien creature that people like to draw online, kind of stuff like that.
Like you could tell like some type of you could like separate them in classes or something where you know that this is a different thing or whatever.
Actually, go ahead, Matt.
I know. I think I know what you're saying, but if you had a reply, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say it makes sense. Like, for example, even if you just take your starting point from the Bible, it makes sense that we would see nested hierarchical patterns in anatomy and morphology, in genetics, of course, because you'll find that these evolutionists, including Aaron Ra, that's why the entire phylogeny challenge is fallacious, because the Bible in no way, shape, or form indicates that we have biological life and then human kind, which has absolutely no similarity to any other species out there. I'd recommend watching the video titled Nested Hierarchy that Ramat and myself put out. But there's no reason for the evolutionists to believe or make arguments based on a straw man, because it makes sense that we would find hierarchies in the biological world. It makes sense that humans are going to share more, DNA similarities or more similarities in anatomy with the chimpanzee or with the old world monkeys than they do with dogs and whales and fish and bacteria. Nested hierarchies make sense from a design perspective. We build and design things in these types of groups within groups patterns. And the Bible says God created us in his image. So according to our model, in order to test our model, we're going to look at the way we design and build things and get a sense for the way God created life. And guess what? We see these similarities that form these hierarchies in the biological world, and we see that in the designs we build. So yeah, it's fallacious, and it's a straw man for evolutionists to think that you're going to have humankind that's just completely separate and distinct from all other forms of life, right? It's like they think or assume that humans are going to be equally distant from chimps as they are to dogs. It makes no sense. He used a common code.
Right, yeah.
It's a common design. That makes sense.
Yeah, programmers said if God programmed animals to be like drastically different, that would show poor design. And that's what they commented on. Let's see if you guys heard of that.
Yeah, it's exactly right. It would be like looking at all different types of modes of transportation, and then the sedan is equally distant away in similarity at the blueprint level and at the structural level to vans and airplanes. No, of course, sedans are going to share more similarities with like a hatchback or an SUV than it will with a tractor trailer or an airplane or a boat. But guess what? An airplane and a sedan, based on their similarities, can still form hierarchies. You're still going to see these types of groups within groups patterns in modes of transportation, even on the material level. So it's right in line with our model. And that's why, like, nested hierarchies, for example, similarities and the differences in DNA and anatomy and morphology and physiology, it's expected in both models, evolution, creation. That's why Ramat and myself, we will spend time pointing out the differentiating lines of evidence that can determine what's true, universal ancestry or limited ancestry. And that's when we get into things like the DNA barcoding, the taxonomically restricted genes, the function is key, and predictions are flowing from that basic premise. So in genetics, we are winning the war. That's for certain.
So we got a super chat in from James, my brother James. That's been like totally debunked, man.
James in the house.
James is in the house.
I'm glad you asked that question, because it allowed us to continue on for another 10 minutes and get that super chat from James, the man himself. Thanks, James.
Here's one for you too, Praise. Think about it like this. Why would God completely rework something that already works? Why would he complete brand new genomes for each different forms of life? Why would
that's what I was referring to. So now you caught what I was trying to say. That's what I was trying to say. Good job.
Yeah. Okay. I know what you mean now. I hear it. This is kind of how it goes down in the atheist mind, I think. It's like, I can't figure out why God designed us the way he did. Therefore, God didn't create us. Because if God designed us, he designed us poorly, judged by my human mind. Therefore, God didn't design us. It's a fallacious kind of reasoning. See what I mean?
Well, and that's why R and Ra's phylogeny challenge is fallacious, because they think, like, for example, there are studies that Jackson Wheat, and I think the way I explain things sometimes with the nested hierarchies is a little technical, but the evolutionists really do believe, and you can see it in their papers. Like Herman Mays presents these papers in his debates that literally says, if there's a nested hierarchy, then special creation is false, because evolution and universal common descent would predict and expect these groups within groups patterns in the biological world. So then we see that that's true. Humans share a lot in common with all other humans, and they also have a lot of similarities with chimps. But they share more with each other than they do with chimps. But then you can incorporate monkeys and you can incorporate other forms of life. They think that falsifies the creation model, when in fact we predict the exact same thing. So it's just, they're arguing against a straw man. What we see and the way God designed us, with shared patterns, shared designs, makes sense. That was a good question there.
Great answers. Yep, you answered my question perfectly there. Good job.
Okay, well, is there any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Not that I'm aware of.
Beautiful. Anyone in the audience has any questions or anything specific that they feel may have been left out in Jackson Wheat's video? Shoot us an email or a comment, and we will respond.
There you go. I guess we'll see everybody pretty soon.
Evolution beatdown later, guys. God bless, and see you in a few minutes.
God bless.